from the agency community was, what are the core challenges where we see an opportunity? So even though the word is opportunity, it also talks about how do we bring in more business in. And that has been one of the bigger challenges, considering the technology is not only being influential and helpful in doing what we do in a better and automated way, but it is also a deterrent in terms of helping carriers and technology companies to become more of a insurance provider or doing a job of a broker or an agent that was primarily something that you guys were focused and better in doing. So with all the D2C direct-to-consumer products, we are seeing a lot of micro-insurance, which is kind of creating opportunities that goes directly to the carrier, bypassing the brokers or the agents. And we do hear very often that the agent community will not be relevant down the line, which I strongly do not believe, because I think there is a lot more value that is being offered by the agents, which I don't think in any capacity of farm technology will be able to kind of consume. Other components that we have heard, and once we started diving deeper into, is operational efficiency and technology, and I think both are kind of intertwined. Because if we have good technologies to support our operations, that efficiency automatically get improved and influenced. And so it's very important to look at the tools that we are using, whether in terms of outreach, whether in terms of automation, or in terms of understanding what our current business looks like or our current business analytics are. So it's a mix of both, not only automating a lot of things, but also about how we are leveraging technology to serve our customers better. And we'll dive deeper into how we are helping agencies to solve some of these components. Fourth one, as we talked about, on the customer service. And one thing we hear very frequently from the agent community we are speaking with is they are always struggling because they are short of resources. We understand resources are expensive. It is not easy to just, line up resources and let them do the customer service. Yes, we want that. But then the goal is, how can we do more with less? And a part of that is, as we learn from travel industry or airlines, what the themes that we pick from there is that there is a higher emphasis on self-service. So what can we learn, or what are those best practices that we can bring and adapt and be able to leverage in our space? And one of the things is there using mobile technology, or are we able to use features like chatbot that will allow us to not only do a lot more on the self-service side and be able to answer questions and provide that instant gratification to customers that is missing, whereas there is an assumption that every time we have to pick a phone or answer the phone to get those answers to the customers. No, there can be a more automated and a smarter way to do those things. So those are the solution side of these challenges and the opportunities that we're looking at. Similarly, on the retention side, 20% of the customers do feel there is a huge challenge in terms of retaining the customer. And again, I think it's no secret that we all understand that retention is the holy grail. If we want to grow our business, if we want to, more than growing, if we want to increase the profitability of our business, one of the core things we need is making sure we are hitting on a pretty decent retention percentage. And we know the difference between a good performer and a mediocre is 5 to 6 percentage points. And we understand then that 6 percentage point is so huge, that it can literally double your profitability. So with, it's a known fact that there has to be a lot of emphasis on making sure, point by point, how are we building our capacity to increase on that retention. Needless to say, there are newer challenges, especially in the auto or in the home insurance. There's so many direct-to-customer products are out there, or they're trying to, where it becomes very difficult, where customers are getting quotes online and able to buy products online, which is plain vanilla. But what can we offer to those customers that will help us increase our retention. And I'll deviate a little bit here and talk about why retention can be significantly improved, even though there are all these challenges. And one of the things we have learned over the period of time is to increase or improve our retention, it is important to engage with the customers. And engagement as a tool is not only about, what we are telling the customer, it has to be a value information that we are telling customers, that they feel valued of being involved or being able to listen to what we have to offer. So moving to our next slide here. Any quick question before we go to our next slide here? All right. As we were talking about on the engagement, so some of the participants that we polled, they mentioned almost 70% of them are using traditional email or phone calls to engage with their customers. And as we can see in the lower quarter percentile is about through text message or any other social media. So what does that tell us? It tells us a very clear story of what has been a traditional way of engaging with the customer and how manual and an approach that is kind of resource intensive. And we understand that even though there's a lot more pressure today to do more with less, we have to bridge that gap. How are we using social media? How are we using automated tools to serve the same customers with the same kind of experience, but in a more automated way? So a couple of tools that we use in our space is for email. Let's say if we are talking to our customers or we need to just congratulate them on their birthdays. Let's say if our book of business is almost of 500 to 1,000 customers, 1,000 email somebody is typing, I don't think it's a good idea. There are better ways we can do that. So we have built tools that will automate that kind of a communication, where all your 500 to 1,000 birthday messages are kind of scheduled and it's fired off from the system as and when it is planned based on their birthdays, a day before or on that particular day. So those kind of things, these are just one thing at a time, but once you start adding all these little components, you would see a dramatic shift in not only the amount of hours it takes to do your work, but also it will take a lot of time away so you can focus on your business development side of things rather than trying to do things which can be automated by technology. Another service components was to understand from customers how would they like to have any kind of immediate notification. And it was very no-brainer to say that, most of them said, yes, we want to know about our customer's life event, because the policy is not about selling a particular policy. I'm sure most of you are looking at from a risk profile, from a holistic position of what does that individual and his risk profile looks like, so you can build a risk portfolio around it. As we all know, building, if you are in a flood zone, just building one wall as high as possible and letting all three sides being exposed does not help. You have to have walls on all four sides. So is the risk profiling or making sure we have that kind of a portfolio of insurance that is covering that individual or his family or his assets in a way which is covering him from all sides rather than being exposed on a particular area. So knowing that it is important, the tools that we are building is able to cater to that kind of a question and answer. So on the app that we have for the customers today will allow them to answer questions about themselves, their family, their assets, so we understand what value of the asset, what kind of assets we are dealing with, so we can build a comprehensive risk portfolio or making sure there is enough coverage for each of them. Another component was about how we use technology to identify opportunities. So yeah, almost everyone we spoke with was of the intent that yes, we should be able to use technology to identify opportunities. So when we talk about opportunities, opportunities come in many forms and shapes. It is not only about, okay, how do we bring in a new lead to get that new business, but it is also about how do we maximize our current book of business, which is there an opportunity with my current customer whom I have sold through policy, which is the logical third? Or can that customer help me get a new referral because, I have been able to serve him better? So all these components play a very important role when we are looking at a holistic growth in our business, is not only from what new leads we are chasing, but also focused on our current book of business. And definitely that will not help you grow your business rather than just look at what we have from a outside lead perspective. Another component when we was about would you like to predict outgoing customers? And I'm sure the answer was pretty obvious that everybody wanted to know. But then the question was, how would we know what kind of a customers will have a flight risk? Retention is a very, as we can understand, there are customers that you want to keep, there are customers you don't want to keep. As well as similarly with customers, if they want to stay with you or they are looking every time, or they are value customers, they are looking to save $10, they can go to another product. So it's important that we look at a customer's profiling, what kind of insurance they have, and we are building products and tools that will help you predict that kind of flight risk behavior of customers. Another one was about would use automation to sell more policies? And the answer was very obvious. Yes, we want to use automation to sell more policy. And how would you do that? The answer was we are able to do a lot more when we are able to kind of identify and segment customers based on their profiles. Today, all the agency management systems that we're using, we get a lot of data. But where we struggle is able to make a lot of sense out of those data. And I think that is one of the core things that InsuredMine has been focused on is I am not going to recreate the wheel. There is already, the wheel has been invented. What we're going to do is figure out that if that wheel is square, then how can we make it round? So there is speed and there is agility. So we, as a customer, as an agent, you understand what that data could mean, what is the power of that data. Needless, I'm not suggesting that these agency management systems do not have good analytics, but I think they fall short in communicating the value that is driven or that can be developed out of those data. And that is one thing that we look from is, if I'm an agent, what is that value to me from a data perspective? And in the very early discussion, as Jacob was mentioning, that in our product, one thing, it's literally like a culture to our product, is we want to make sure everything is clickable, which means we want to make sure there is a story behind the story and the story behind that story. Unless everything is integrated and looped, you would never have a complete picture. And so that's one thing we want to make sure, and that kind of leads back to our component here is to how do we automate, which is through segmentation of the customers and building marketing tools that will help push that kind of a communication. I believe we have a few more participants join the meeting, so welcome to the meeting, and we will take some roll call at the end. This is an interesting chart that through the survey that came out was, how many times are we connecting with our customers? As we can see, the median is twice a year. But based on our research, what we found that there is more than 2 or 3 times in a year when we look at the customer's journey, there is multiple locations that we need to be involved with the customer. Not necessarily that we are there in person to meet him, or but we need to figure out a way that we are engaging, communicating, and in front of them to let them know that we are there for them. So it's very important for building that kind of a communication, and we understand if we, as our book continues to grow, it is really challenging unless we have a lot of resources. So it's important what kind of tools do we have that will help us do that kind of an engagement. So as you can see with all these survey questions and the challenges or the opportunities I have been talking about in the last 15-20 minutes, the idea is to build a sense of what is it that we need or what is it that we are missing. Because the product that we ended up developing was not something we pulled out of thin air. We built it based on the research. We built it based on the feedback we received from you all and trying to understand where there is a gap in what you are doing and how we can fill that gap so that you can enhance your capability to do more with less. Then we also kind of polled around to see what kind of solution folks are using. It was interesting to see definitely a lot of larger clients were using Vertafore and Applied, and even though the numbers are lower on EasyLinks and Salesforce, what we have seen a lot of our smaller clients are using Salesforce and EasyLinks. And needless to say, you know, all these solutions are good in their own capacity depending on your needs. So again, at this point, we are agnostic to a solution. Our goal is to help you build a more powerful solution, whichever agency management systems you are using today. Some of the features, so as one of the core product that we have is an app for your insurance customers. And we asked all of you that what are the things that would matter to you. And, you know, there are a few things which came out very loud and clear, which is, you know, we want to have our customers to have that kind of a user experience that they are used to, because they're used to using Amazon, they're used to using Google's and Facebook, and there is a very natural expectations from them when they're using an app. And unfortunately, there are a couple solutions in the market, but nothing meet that kind of an expectation. So we wanted to make sure our product is built from ground up, from a design thinking. So everything is done with customer in mind. And when we are developing a product like that, as I will share in a minute, it helps you look at the product that is kind of in that space. So definitely claims, user experience, payments, and how we connect with the agencies are some of the core pieces. Notifications and communications definitely is equally important, and we have paid enough attention of how we are having any kind of a push notifications or reminders for the customers so that they do not have any missed payments or a policy expiration, because once those kind of things happen, it kind of creates a whole negative experience, not only for the product use, but for the agency as well. So we are trying to minimize as much as possible on those. Mobile app, this was a very interesting outcome of the survey. As you can see, do you encourage your customers to download mobile app? And 75% said no, which I do not blame them, because you are not sure. You don't want to have somebody come to your house and you send them to your neighbor's backyard to have a party. You know, so the idea was, if I don't have it, I'm not going to recommend anything. And so the answer was pretty obvious. Yes, I would rather have my own insurance wallet where customers can have all my product in one place, or at least it will create an opportunity for me to bring more and more on that particular platform. So this was, in that sense, a very positive note that people are interested in having a product of their own rather than being relying on any third party or a carrier app. So now we're going to go a bit deeper into the product side of tools, and then I'll give a quick live demo on the product. But before we go there, any question on the survey that we talked about? We'll take a quick pause here. I believe I have unmuted everybody. Any question?
No questions from me.
All right, thank you. All right, so as over this presentation, as one of the things you can also emphasizing, and I know some of you joined this meeting to know more about what we are doing or from our product perspective. And as I said, the core essence of our product is twofold, is how can we help you increase retention and how can we help you increase your cross sales. And those two things are happening only when we are able to build a very strong engagement model and we are able to understand a lot of data from the analytics perspective. Because with analytics, it will help us understand what kind of customers can be approached or segmented for cross sales. And for retention, as we said multiple times, is the idea is what kind of engagement we are building with our customers. And it has to be value driven. So what we do today based on our product is three core components. One on the back end is the agent portal, which is basically a portal for the agents to understand and segment all your customers. And on the front end of your client is a mobile app that allows them to bring all their insurance in one place. And this mobile app, when they sign up, they will automatically see all their insurances in one place. But the beauty of this is it does not stop there. It is not just about having all the policies you have sold them, but it becomes their default insurance wallet, which means they can see all their other policies. I believe there is a hand raised. Let me take that. Do you have a question?
Thank you.
Please leave your message after the tone. When done, hang up or press the pound key.
All right. Okay, I don't think there was a. So from the app perspective, the idea was how do we bring not only our insurance in one place, but also the insurance that I have bought, but I would prefer to have it in one place. So this helps you consolidate all your insurance. Second component of this on the mobile app is a chatbot, which allows you to do a lot of self-service and customer service. And I'll go into the detail of each of them in a bit. As we can see from here, on the top left, Agent Portal connects on the chatbot, which connects on the right bottom to the Agent app. And so the chatbot is not only with your customers, but also on your platform, so you are able to engage with those customers. And similarly, there is a customer portal, so if some of your customers are not very comfortable downloading an app, they can log in on the website as well and see the same policy details as they see it on the phone. So few things which happens very automatically and naturally for your customers here is you immediately have a web presence now. That means your customers will be able to have all their policies in one place. You don't need to go through a whole ordeal of building product or a web presence of how do I do this. This is just a simple turnkey solution which will allow you to have all this information in one place for your customers. I'll quickly navigate through some of the customers, and we have here today Jacob, who is one of our customers, and I would invite him to talk about some of the things that he has been using with our product and how he sees the value that comes from the product like this from his perspective. And then we'll go into the web detail of how the product works.
Yes, thank you, Roshan. I definitely think you did a good intro into kind of what the data suggests is a good solution. My opinion from working with the product for a little while is that it is a good fit for the problem. Like a lot of agents, I kicked around the idea of, do I pay a developer to come up with a personalized app? And the barrier of entry to that is very high. So I think you've come up with a really good solution and a product that is branded to me. My clients, they open the app, they see my face, they see my phone number, they see my office address, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of on a different vein, just from pure productivity. If we take the time and do the app right, the clients don't have to call me for their ID card. I've got a guy that at least once a month asks me to send him his ID card for his car insurance. Sure, it's just a few minutes here or there, but one thing, it stands my last nerve, and if it can prevent that from happening, that's well worth it to me. On the other hand, as you said, what are we really in the business of? And the answer is retention. Retention through a better relationship, retention through better means of communication, retention through a better experience, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that InsuredMine is a perfect solution and a good aid in furthering my efforts for retention. Unlike a lot of agencies, I really do touch my clients 6 to 8 times a year. I think this is going to be a very good addition to my retention strategy by sort of being a silent operator in the background where they can always pull out their phone, get me, feel connected to me, because if you're not in their phone, you're not in their life. So I'm very excited to see the impact it has on retention as well as cross-sales, because they work together. So no, I'm very pleased with the product. I recommend it very highly. And kind of on a more personal level, Roshan and his team have been very, very responsive to some of my more nuanced concerns in terms of how to really tailor the app to be a better fit for me and my business. So just kind of from I'm a big believer in the philosophy behind doing business, and people have different philosophies of doing business. I choose to only do business with people that kind of their vision aligns with mine in terms of the customer experience and product delivery, and I could not be more impressed with my experience thus far. So I have nothing but good things to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Jacob. I appreciate that, endorsement from customers is definitely the most important thing, because that proves that, we are working towards the true North Star. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course.
All right. So now we're gonna. Any other question from anyone on the call? If not, we will go on the web and look at some of the. So this is from a dashboard perspective, how it looks like today. So when you, again, as I said, it's a turnkey solution. It's just in a matter of days, we are able to convert this and make it ready for you, and you can start using it. That's what we did with Jacob, and it was pretty quick turnaround. So on a dashboard, basically, you get a snapshot view of what your product, what your book of business looks like. How many active customers, what's the annualized premium, policies, carriers, and data like that. We are also making a very interactive dashboard here, which means, you can look at what you got, and you can keep moving stuff which you don't want or don't need in the beginning, and, kind of have the most important things focus to you in joining what is needed in the top of the list. So whether it means by the book of business share or policies by expiration, which policies are expiring which month. If I click here, I see auto 26 of them are expiring in the month of July. So, what do I need to do to kind of deal with that kind of situation? Send a mass mailer. We're going to talk about that. And then, what kind of a follow-up drip campaign are we pursuing to get more visibility with that kind of customer, to get that conversion happening sooner than later. Similarly, with the customers, get some kind of a clarity in terms of where your customers are and how the product can, if you have a gap in a particular area and you can look at, hey, these are the places where I do not have a customers, what I can do to grow business in that zip code or in that area, which is, whether it's a mailer or do a campaign or do stuff that will help you get a better visibility in that area. Policy by the line of business, you understand your donut chart to say, okay, if my auto is this share, what does that look like? It means I have a 34% share of my policies are auto, which is 382 policies with 800,000 plus premium dollars. Understand your customers by segment, whether it's, in what age range they are, because then once you understand by segment, then you may know what policies they have and what policy you want to sell them, whether you want to sell them additional umbrella policy if they are at in 30s or 40s because, they may have more assets, or if you want to sell them a life policy if they are really young and, that is a better time to sell them life policy. So you would have a much better clarity on segmenting your customers and connecting with them for selling additional policies. Here is your message board saying whose birthday is, and if you want to send them a note out, and we are building more components how you can automate these things, but at this point you can send information right from here. And from your customer directory, you can just type in few words and it will look for the names associated with that. As you can see, there are phone numbers you can call directly from here, chat with them right from this message board, or email them right from here. So there are components that will allow you to connect with the customers right from here. As they continue to sign up for your app or the web service, you will see the registered users on the list here. So that's in a nutshell what your dashboard would look like. And on the top right corner, as you can see, there is this square chat icon, which allows you to get all your customers here and you can talk to them from here, which means this will send the message to them on the app or the web version of the products, not on the web currently, but at least on the app to start that communication if there is a need. Or if they send you a message, it will come directly here. Clicking on the customers right now, so this is where you see all your customer profile of what policies they have. And one interesting component here I want to draw your attention to would be the policies. As you can see, with first Harshit, there is 0 by 10, and then the second one is 2 by 2. What's the meaning of that on the policy column? 0 by 10 means this person has no more any additional policies with us, but he has 10 policies, which means he has uploaded those 10 policies, but none with us today. Whereas in case of Dylan, there is 2 policies that they have bought from us. Is there a question? All right. So I'll quickly click on that to show you what does that look like. So if I click on that 0 by 10, you can see by me, which is you as an agent, there is 0 policy, any active or expired. But if I click on by others, I can see there are 5 of those are active policies and 5 of them are expired policies. So that's some additional insight about the customer. And when I click on customer here, this gives me a much more detailed perspective of what that customer profile looks like. And we are getting a lot of these data by encouraging customers through gamification and other chat communication using psychology to understand when and what is the best question to ask and getting those responses from the customers through the app. As we all understand, as an agent, we would prefer to have annual reviews done, but it is not always possible to kind of, scrub through the entire book of business and have everyone's annual review done. This helps you kind of accomplish that in a real-time basis, so you don't have to wait for 12 months to get the annual reviews done, rather than get it done whenever there is any change in a life event. Similarly, from the policy perspective, you get to search all your policies right from here. If I just type in 600, let's say, it will show me all the policies with 600. So the searches are pretty intuitive and pretty robust, but it also gives me a pretty real-time understanding of my data. And it brings in all the data in terms of policy, insured, or who the policy is with, and annualized or written. If there are other components that you want to bring here, it is possible to do that, and which we will show in a bit on the report side of things. Similarly, from a carrier perspective, we get an understanding of how many policies we have with which carrier, and we can sort them based on and having a clarity of what that look like. I will talk briefly about what this auto task looks like. So this is basically when there is a notification comes to you in terms of a particular policy will expire. So let's click on these notifications. So we know there is a policy coming for renewal from Kevin Fee. And so what do we do now? And it was interesting, and pardon me, Jacob, for using your reference here. So I was asking Jacob, how do you manage this when you know somebody's policy is expiring? And he showed me a wall. He showed me a wall with the sticky notes. And I don't blame him, because that is a very standard way of doing things, because it is intuitive. You know what it is. It's right in front of your eyes, and you can make things happen and move right there. And I was very intrigued by that process. But at the same time, I was very impressed that, what we have built is pretty much a sticky note approach. Because when you click here on the action and you click this notepad here, it creates that sticky note. And it pushes that sticky note right here in your auto task. And the only thing it is not on the wall, but on your screen, which keeps moving as we continue to act on it. So if you click on this, it opens up that sticky note, and it gives you an ability to track or add information. So let's say follow up in 4 days is my next action. And I will add here, follow up in 4 days. And then I'll select the date. 4 days from today is, let's say, for 13th. 9 a.m. to 10. Okay, I'll save this. So what is happening now, as you can see, there is already a task being created to follow up in 4 days, or 9 a.m. on July 12th. So those kind of things is really helpful, because now you are taking those sticky notes on steroids and making it more actionable. So that is the beauty of making those sticky notes work for you. We're going to switch to some of the other components. Any basic questions that I can answer on some of these components we just talked about? If not, just for today's webinar, we have been working on some of the features, and we kind of pushed the team to get it ready. So it is still under the hood, but we will be releasing some of these features, which is scheduled to be released later in the month. And 3 new things that we are revealing it to you all today, which is not there. 3 core things. One is on the deal board, second is mail, and third is report. So let me start with report. So projected book of business. Why this report is very interesting? Because, as I said, we do have a lot of data coming from agency management system, but the challenge is not getting the data, is to make sense of it, as well as be able to play with it. How do we interact with that data? And that is the challenge. So let's say if I want to just look at, so right now you can see the selected boxes is what you see. I don't want to look at all the data. I want to select only 4 categories, 4 components of this. I want to take out the expiration. I want to take out the effective date. I want to take out the premium amount. I just want to know the providers and the insured name. So if you see, as I was continuing to click, the data was dynamically changing to reflect those changes. And it gives me a real-time update with whatever data I want to add. And this will come with the chart of your choice of whatever chart you want to see to visualize the data. But at the same time, it is also very effective in terms of how you want to manipulate that data to, well, in a positive way, not to, kind of do any kind of a voodoo accounting on that. But, how do you want to play with the data to make more sense out of it? So that's very interesting, and we continue to develop on those reporting things. Second, I want to talk about the mail. As with Jacob as well, and there are several other agents we have spoken, they are using a mail system, which is kind of sitting outside their agency management system, and then they're doing the mail, and that mail, if they have sent out, they have no freaking way to figure it out when they need to follow up on that mail. But this is a wonderful opportunity to bring back that discussion of where that mail is, and because this will feed back to that customer profile and their history of what that data would look like, or what that information that they sent to that customer is saved in that. On the deal board, as Jacob was talking about, so the idea is it's basically a quasi CRM, which means any of your tasks, you can bring it here in terms of a new lead or a new information. We are building integrations with other tools that you're using for your lead management, and it will directly feed that information here, and then you can continue to move them as there is a progression on that particular activity. As definitely you can add more data as you continue to do that. So that's, in a nutshell, is where we are with the product. So this is how it looks like, and it gives you a clarity of, how many policies you have and how they can, and how you are talking, your profiles and chatbot and everything. And I know we are running out of time, so I'll take a quick pause here, and probably I can do more specific demo to talk more on the product. So I'll take a quick pause. Here's some of your comments and feedback before we wrap up here. Jacob, any quick closing comment before we wrap up here?
No, I'm very excited to see sort of the deal board. I think that's headed in the right direction.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We will be in touch. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we will continue to have these monthly webinars to engage with you all and answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.